All right, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 17th, around 7 o'clock. Man, I was really worried about what we would talk about at the beginning of this season, but quite a bit. There is quite a bit to talk about. We are the Sons of Saturday, Pat Finn in Manhattan. Better connection today. You guys got to take it easy on my boy. He can't handle what the Wi-Fi connection situation is. Billy Ray Mitchell here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Here's the plan. Here's the game plan. We're going to very loosely preview. I won't even call it a preview. Talk about Wofford. And then we're going to move into the press conference that we saw from Whit and Coach Montgomery. And then we're going to talk about the coaching carousel situation, search, whatever. I can't believe we're going to have to do this for like 2.5 months. Just saw some preposterous things on the internet. But what can you do? That's where we are. So we will kick off as we always do with a haiku, and it comes from Spartacus Jones. Spartacus Jones has been engaging with Sons of Saturday a lot. So thank you, Mr. Spartacus Jones. Also, if you're listening or on YouTube, hit us with a like, hit us with a subscribe. It does help. His haiku, loss after cold loss. A change is needed, it seems. New coach leads the way. And I want to start with this, Pat. I know we just got blown out by ODU. I know that we lost to Vanderbilt in embarrassing fashion. I know that we lost to South Carolina, which seemed like an exorcism in itself with Shane Beamer. But as my background suggests here, it feels like brick by brick, step by step, day by day, we get closer to what we hope to be moving into the future here. Like, I have a really hard time being super upset just knowing that we're moving towards a brighter day. Does that make sense?
And that is really going to be the crux of our conversation today. And there's 200 million reasons why we're excited, hopefully, fingers crossed. It is nice to feel like we are going to be able to tear this down to the studs. The timing could have been better, but when is the timing ever really perfect? I do feel a little bit of optimism, and it is mainly around the funding that hopefully is going to get approved for athletics on September 30th. But I'm excited to get into it. And I'm excited to preview Wofford. Very fired up. I know we're going to spend 6 minutes on the preview on the puppies down in Spartan, Vegas. We do have some Hokie lore and some Wofford Terrier lore, but this will be mostly focused on the athletic department and the football program as a whole, exclusive of this game coming up on Saturday at noon.
That's right. So as we get started here, we'll do a couple of Hokie headlines. The first one, the 2031 game versus Wisconsin has been moved to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Duke's Mayo Bowl Classic. Pat, not Mayo Bowl Classic, just the Duke's Mayo Classic. Gosh, they're marketing. They have so many names. Pat, your reaction?
I like the Charlotte Sports Foundation. I respect their mission of engaging the city of Charlotte with opportunities to embrace collegiate sports. They do the Duke's Mayo Bowl game, which is a hit. They do the Duke's Mayo Classic, which is always nice. They engage in basketball classics, allied tip-off, what have you. I am a fan of what they do down there at the Charlotte Sports Foundation. I am not a fan of home and homes and the dignity and integrity of college football scheduling being stripped away in the eyes and the name and the motivation of money and television viewers and sponsorships. All I want to do is go to Camp Randall. All Wisconsin fans want to do is come to Lane Stadium. They want to jump around in Lane. We want to start jumping in Madison. But unfortunately, we can't do the full home and home because someone's got to make some money in this situation. And we just played in a bowl game in Charlotte. We've had our games in Charlotte. I love Charlotte. I used to live there. It's one of my favorite places. No one is asking for this. Nobody is like, you know what? You know what's going to be great? Like, I'd love to play Wisconsin. Like, this game has been so elusive. I'm pinning it down. Let's actually let's forfeit our home game to play it in Charlotte. Because, we love our fans that we have in Charlotte. But, they would much rather host Wisconsin in Charlotte than Lane Stadium. I just miss college football when LSU and Virginia Tech and Texas A&M and Nebraska, we'd have home and homes. We'd get to check out College Station, Baton Rouge, Memorial Stadium out in Lincoln. We had a serious stretch of epic home and homes in the early 2000s. Ohio State came to town in 2015 after we went up there in 2014. And then there's just been this massive gap of no good out-of-conference games, no good home and homes, the occasional neutral game, West Virginia up in Landover, South Carolina this year. But whatever happened, Tennessee in Bristol, whatever happened to us just checking out a new college town and enjoying what they have to offer. That's what makes college football great. And unfortunately, the suits are all about the greenbacks, and they want to line their pockets, and we can't host Wisconsin. My buddy from Wisconsin texted me today. He's like, dude, what? I guess we'll go to Charlotte, but what? And that's what I said too. And Bank of America Stadium is pretty lame compared to Mercedes-Benz. Like, let's just be honest. Very, very, very much a middle-of-the-road stadium. They wouldn't host a Super Bowl. Taylor Swift says, I don't want to play at Bank of America. There's no juice there. So overall, as you can tell, I'm a little bit unhappy. I love that we get to play the Badgers. Couldn't be less excited about playing them at Bank of America Stadium.
I understand the why. I hate the it. I hate that it's happening. So, with the new ACC structure and how teams are paid, I mean, Virginia, I'll tell you what, thank God Virginia Tech played South Carolina in a game that everybody watched on Sunday, because I can't imagine there are going to be a lot of people watching the rest of the season. That's just the way it is. One other interesting nomer there is, who knows what conference we're going to be in 2031? The Wisconsin Badgers of the Big Ten are taking on Virginia Tech of the who knows. Shout out to Doug Bowman. He put that up there.
Conference game, a non-conference game, conference game.
Yeah. So do you want to go through the other out-of-conference games the next few years? And I'll just give you a one-word response. We'll do a little reverb here. Shout out to our verbaler friends. But give me the game, and I'll give you one word or a couple-word response.
All right, just evaluate it based on the year, because we got multiple in some years. 2026 at Maryland and JMU at home.
Okay. With all due respect, it will be cool to go to like the Northern Virginia area, but College Park sucks. JMU, terrifying. Not much else to say other than terrifying. Who knows? Their coach might be our coach come 2026. You never know. Crazier things.
Winning both of those games should be table stakes, and losing both of those games will leave a bruise, or more than a bruise, on our program.
Well, keep in mind, you say table stakes, we might have 70 new players on our roster in 2026. Just keeping it real. Like, I have no idea what our team. Anthony Calandria could be our quarterback next year with Dan Mullen, which will be fun to watch, but I don't know if we can appropriately name it table stakes at this point in time. We don't have a coach.
200 million reasons why it should be table stakes. Man. Virginia Tech should always beat JMU, and Virginia Tech should always beat Maryland in football.
Agree.
Unfortunately, but the last 10 years of Virginia Tech football would trend the other way. 2027, Maryland at home, Notre Dame on the road.
So Maryland at home reminds me of an unbelievable game by, was it Ryan Williams who had an unbelievable game against Maryland? Who had an unbelievable game against Maryland?
It was Darren Evans. He ran for 253 yards and a touchdown on a late October, early November night in 2008.
Looked cold.
On our way to the ACC championship game, set the school record that was broken by Bachel Tootin last year. But Darren Evans had himself a night that night in 2008. 23-13.
And then Notre Dame on the road. It's a rubber match, dude. Virginia Tech is 1-1 in South Bend. I will say this: I've only been twice, but I've never had a bad time. I've actually been 3 times and only once for a football game, but I've never had a bad time in South Bend. It's beautiful. It's awesome. It's gonna be. I'll be there, barring something crazy. So looking forward to it.
Pitchers at the Backer.
Oh, dude,
2028.
can't wait.
Flip flop at Maryland, Notre Dame at home.
My God.
It's kind of the same thing. We got a lot of Maryland games. Same thing. Retweet.
Same thing.
2029.
Yep.
2029 at Arizona. Maryland at home.
Okay, Maryland retweet at Arizona. Why couldn't this game be at Arizona State? Could we have done Arizona State instead? No disrespect to Tucson, but Tucson is not nearly as awesome as the greater Phoenix area. Hopefully by this point, Pat, the last couple of years, maybe by this point, I'll be able to pack my golf clubs. Maybe I'll find a golf game by 2029, and I can bring golf clubs down there. If not, I'll probably just go to Get a Water Lane or whatever it's called, Drink a Water Lane.
Billy's been claiming this is the summer I pick up golf every summer the last 4 years. 2030 at Brigham Young University, and then Arizona returns the trip and comes to Blacksburg.
I love it. It's just so crazy how long we've gone without hosting like anyone of like, it's wild that we've had so few out of conference, like cool opponents come to our stadium where I'm like, dude, that's sick. Arizona's going to be playing at Lane, allegedly. At BYU, a motion to move this game to to the spring game. Wouldn't it be awesome to move this game to like April or even play it in February, and then we could go out there and ski? I'm just gonna get off the plane at this BYU game and just be so angry that I'm not skiing. So that's my thoughts on those two.
Utah is a beautiful part of the country. Any point of the year, Billy Ray. It'll be mid-September.
You know what they say about Utah, or what Ryan Russillo says about Utah?
Russillo loves Utah.
It's just a more convenient. Salt Lake City is a more convenient Denver. That is what it is.
Yeah. 2031 is the Wisconsin game in Charlotte. 2020 or 2032. Billy Ray gonna perk up on this one. Ole Miss comes to Blacksburg on September 4th, and then we go out to Camp Randall. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Maybe we're in the SEC or the Big Ten at this point. Maybe not. Who knows? 2033, BYU at home, Notre Dame on the road. 2034, Bama at home, South Carolina on the road. 35, flip-flop that. And then 36 and 37, Notre Dame at home, Ole Miss on the road. We have schedules all the way out to 2037. I
just hope some of these games happen. That's where I'm at. I hope these happen. If you put the over under on this, I hope 50% of these games happen is kind of where I'm at.
Not only like do we hope it happens, but how ridiculous is it that we have to schedule out that Ole Miss game was scheduled like 5 years ago. So the game was scheduled almost 20 years out. Meanwhile, COVID, we were all there for it. They made for the ACC the 10+1, and they did that scheduling in like a weekend. And they were like, "All right, guys, here's your 10 conference games, and then Tech, you're going to play Liberty. You're going to lose to them." But all of that scheduling happened within the blink of a weekend. So
yeah,
don't tell me it's not possible to schedule something on short notice. Basketball does it every single year.
Yep.
I know it's deeper than that, but
there's a way.
Get Josh Pate in there as college football commissioner. In other news, we can call this an ex-Hokie headline. I think it's just worth noting, just around college football. Mansour Delane has been setting the world on fire. Delane Island. He is getting more love than I've ever seen. He's the highest graded cornerback in America this season so far, with a 99.9 PFSN CBI grade. That's like PFF stuff. He hasn't played Wofford and Old Dominion. He has played Florida and Clemson. So, Coach Cheetah, how did this guy get so turned around last year?
Don't don't get me started on player development under this past regime is where I'll leave it. No, I won't leave it there because I'll also say I was told that he was too small. I was told that he wouldn't play well. I was told that I can't wait to watch him get torched by all of the Clemson wide receivers. It's very funny. If you are thinking about trashing a player on their way out, you, especially at Virginia Tech, have more of a chance of it going poorly than you do of it going well. I mean, the only time that I can think of, I don't want to call kids out by name, but like the only one where like I was like, this guy's leaving, like that sucks, and I hate where he's going, was Lynn Kidd. And that's like the only one where it was like, yeah, Lynn Kidd went to Florida or Miami, and Miami was awful. But every other situation, they seem to be pretty awesome. So it's just it happens all the time. So after that, let's preview this Wofford game.
And he got paid.
And he got paid. He got
paid. And why would he stay when he could get probably a whole nother decimal place to the right?
Wofford time. Let's knock this out, dude. Let's knock this out.
We're going to stroll on down to Wofford House here. Virginia Tech and Wofford, long history. Hokies played Wofford a few years ago. Coach Price first year, 2022. Virginia Tech defeated the Wofford Terriers 27-7. Mm-hmm. Grant Wells had a big day, 26 of 35 for 314 and 2 scores. He hit Jaden Blue. Jalen Holston had a touchdown. Bryce Duke had I think it was a wheel route touchdown, if I remember correctly. And Virginia Tech climbed to 2-1 after this game. Quite a start in 2022. But Wofford College is in the Southern Conference. They have about 1,800, a little less than 2,000 students enrolled at their institution.
Smaller than my high school.
The Terriers fielded their first football team way back in 1889, and the first ever college football game in the state of South Carolina was actually between Wofford and Furman. Big rivals there, down there in the Palmetto State. Wofford ended up moving from D2 to D1 AA in the Southern Conference in 1996. They've won 7 SoCon championships. They have gotten bids to the FCS playoffs 10 times. They play in a place called Gibbs Stadium that holds 13,000 fans. It would be funny for Virginia Tech to do a home and home with Wofford. Could you imagine?
I can imagine, because North Carolina is doing it for Charlotte. They played Charlotte, I think 2 weeks ago or something like that. They played at the University of Charlotte, which was just a preposterous decision by them.
Yeah, but it's a little different. Charlotte's involvement is. You know how many kids go to Charlotte?
No, I see a lot of T-shirts.
Like 30,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it would be different. You're right.
And they've done a lot. Charlotte's done a lot they pumped a lot of juice into their football program lately. Like they made a whole entire dorm section or facilities section of their campus for student tailgating. It's kind of cool.
Didn't know that.
But Charlotte has not arrived from a football perspective on the field, even though the fighting Belichicks did struggle a little bit up there. Josh Conklin is the head coach here at Wofford. They're based in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I got to tell you guys, if you have never been to Spartanburg, South Carolina,
dude,
home of Zion Williamson, Dorman High School is down there. We have quite an array of images from our visit to Spartanburg last year, prior to last year's NIL Summit down in Atlanta. Billy Ray and I had the opportunity to go to NIL Summit, and we stopped in Wofford and Spartanburg for a little pit stop. Had an absolute blast. It is a beautiful town. Do you remember that?
What a spot. I did. Of course, dude. What a spot. They had live music. I believe we did a video from the live music. It was just like this shed, and they had this dude ripping on the guitar. It was like 1:00 in the afternoon. I was like, where is this in Blacksburg? Take a page out of the book. Make it happen.
It was like the quintessential cute little Southern town. Athletics are certainly a part of the campus spirit at Wofford. And as you all know, Mike Young a true example of a Wofford man who spent 6.5 years here in Blacksburg up to this point. Brought a whole cast of characters over to Hokie influence from the Terrier Nation. Kevin Giltner, as we all know, one of our favorite assistants on coach's staff. Storm Murphy, who is now living in New York City, and we are getting together soon. So, Storm, if you're listening, looking forward to hanging out. Storm, obviously. Storm.
Nice, dude.
Stormer, a Wofford College standout. Keve Aluma, as you all know, we had him transfer in on that 2022 ACC Championship team. Hunter Couture, the former Wofford College commit, ended up being a Hokie legend. And then it's hard to beat out some of our Wofford College or WOCO football guys. Okay, you got former Love is Blind Netflix superstar Kenny Barnes, new dad, by the way. And former Carolina Panthers wideout and punt returner Brenton Burson. Brenton and Kenny Barnes. We did the Wofford preview pod in 2022 live at the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar in Charlotte. And we had an awesome time there. So I love Wofford. I love the people that I know from there. But Saturday, when toe meets leather, it's on.
In passing, something just to keep a name, just to keep a note on this. Wofford did let their basketball coach go 5 days ago. Our boy Sunshine, Kevin Giltner, was up for this role last year. So just something to keep an eye on. New segment that we did last week. Why should I watch this game? And I'll tell you what, this is much tougher than it was last week. Why should you watch this game? Really interesting, Pat. You'll get a kick out of this. So, Hannah Hamrick, wife of Casey Hamrick, texts me yesterday. Texts me and Jay and says, "Hey, what window during Saturday can we go apple picking?" Okay. And it's very funny because I actually thought of this exact scenario during the preseason. And I was looking at the list of games and I was like, you know what? And I might catch some flack here. I was like, I can record this Wofford game and I'll watch it later. But there are some good games on at 3:30. There's some good games on at 8:30. There's some good games on, I want to sleep in. I don't really want to go apple picking at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's go at noon. And Juliana, to her credit, says, wait, I really want to see the new coach. So there you go. The new coach, Phil Montgomery, will be taking the reins here. Another note, Wofford, with all due respect, is awful. I tried to find the Pat Ford rankings. They're not up right now, but they were between like 230 and 280.
Bill Connolly.
Bill Connolly or Pat Ford does one too, but they're very, very low on this list. And also they might be like the 6th or 7th worst team in their own state. So if you're wanting to see, Bryce Chalkley says this all the time, sometimes it's good to just sit down and watch your team kick some ass. So look, it's a chance to watch your Hokies play and hopefully win, which is fun. And you get to see this new coach. And I will say this. I wouldn't put it past the Hokies. Look, one of two things are going to happen. We're going to win by a lot of points, and maybe the second string will be in, or it's going to be really close because we're playing really bad, and you might see some other players play that you normally see play. So that is why you should consider watching the game.
I think it's an opportunity and a chance to walk out of Lane Stadium with a dub. If you guys are going to the game this weekend, please, 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 and we win, knock on wood. We haven't done that this year. Please record a video leaving any gate that you're leaving. Paul Patera is great at this. Mm-hmm. And say to the camera with that, your boys, your gals, whoever you're with, your group, there's nothing like walking out of Lane Stadium and then have everyone yell with a dub. Send it to us. Send it to us. We'll post a compilation video if we are fortunate enough to walk out of lane with a dub this weekend.
Boom. Keys to the game.
Keys to the game.
Our guy, David Phillips. Shout out. Real estate, Blacksburg, Virginia. You need it. You're selling it. You want to learn more. Shoot us a DM. Shoot us an email. We will connect you to him. Dave is a friend of the show. We have known him for a long time. Great Hokie. Graduated from Tech. Is at every game. Men's basketball, women's basketball, football. Knows everything about it. We know multiple people who have bought through Dave Phillips. When we win the lottery, we will also be buying from Dave Phillips. So check him out. He's the man. He's great. And we encourage you to do any buying, any research through our guy, Dave. And here's the deal, man. Like, just win the game, bro. Like, we're playing Wofford. Like, we're obligated to talk about it. Don't embarrass yourself. We've done our fair share of embarrassment. Conference play starts the next week. Like, I really have nothing else. I really just want to see the team play with some damn pride, man. Like, do y'all care? Y'all have been tested not tested, but inquired by how much do you care? And you should care about people saying that. And if you do, you'll go out and you'll compete. So that's what I hope to see.
We are bigger, stronger, faster than Wofford College. You know, I'm sure Billy Ray could put on the pads on Saturday and push some of these guys around.
Mm-hmm.
No offense.
I'm sure you could
guys.
too. No, I fully believe like we should. This isn't even a question, but it is a question because of how it's all gone down. Score prediction. I feel silly even making one. I'm just going to go 35-10. I guess. Sure. Do you want to put something?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the rest of the podcast, guys. We have a lot of Roback gift cards to give out, and no one is getting anywhere close on Instagram to our score predictions with the Jack and Coke. So I encourage you all to keep commenting and get it close this time so we can give out some Roback. And on the post game, we'll give out some Roback to our Section 5 club as well. Join the Section 5 club. It's on our website. Check it out. We give out free Roback a lot. Okay, on the record, yeah, let's score, let's say like 31-7.
Sure.
Not really different from your prediction, but I mean, we only scored 27 points on Wofford a few years ago, so low bar.
Low bar is right. All right, this is the meat and the potatoes of the podcast, and we're 30 minutes in. The presser yesterday. Let's talk about it. I just want to start out by saying the dropping the water bottle was objectively funny. Like, just everybody's mood coming into it. Like, Whit did not take any questions. He didn't say a whole lot. But as he was getting started and the stream came up, the bottle fell. To his credit, he did say fumble, which I thought was pretty funny. It's like Virginia Tech announcement on firing their coach and new interim, and upon the athletic director taking the lectern, which is the stupidest name for something ever, he dropped the water bottle. Another kind of silly throwaway observation. I loved seeing Coach Montgomery not wearing, and this is a personal preference, the Hokie Bird logo. Like, I know Coach Pry loved it. We got way too much of it. Just way too much. It's kind of like when you order like a latte and they put like a s'more. It's like a s'more flavored latte, but then they put like marshmallows and chocolate and whipped cream. You're like, dude, like you're overdoing it. We had way too much Hokie Bird, so it was good to see Coach Monty was wearing the VT logo, which I did enjoy. But
damn,
did that not drive you crazy? The like cartoon Hokie Bird logo. Oh, dude!
No, it didn't drive me crazy. Now you're just hating. Now you're just hating.
I probably no.
Sure,
I heard it. What?
I'm cracking up.
Okay. Comment below if you had been over it.
If you were over it, please let us know. I never really heard anyone else over it. I thought it was cool. I liked it. I thought it was a nice touch.
I thought it wasn't a touch. It was more like a let's take the paint jar and dump it all over the floor. We just got it all the time. It was like I wouldn't call it a touch. It was more like a grab. But Yeah, let
I'll
us know
take
what you
that.
think
I'll
of the
take that
cartoon.
10. I'll take that 10 times out of 10 over Buzz Williams and his,
Get better.
self-absorbed personal branding stuff. Chill, dude.
Fair enough.
Sick.
Fair enough.
Um,
I think a lot of people expected to hear a Whit retirement or a Whit move on from. Here's what I'll say. It looks pretty clear that he is gearing up to be onto whatever is next for him. Whether you're reading the tea leaves or looking how the releases were worded or his body language or his actual words from his Board of Visitor meeting, it certainly seems as if it's heading in that direction. So I know a lot of people are excited for that to happen. And I think we can all agree that we're excited for the next chapter of Virginia Tech athletics. And that's where we are. This got me so mad. It was brought up that in the future of Virginia Tech athletics that we will be getting a GM. I am so frustrated with how. Let me preface this by saying that I'm very thankful for all of the donors that stepped up because our NIL situation is not as bad as people make it out to be. I also want to say thank you to everyone who stepped up and carried the load at Triumph because everybody at every school basically had to figure out, oh, we need to have an NIL organization. Like we need to throw this together and we need to get going. And there are people who raised their hands and did it. And I'm appreciative of that. However, like that is an area that we just were not forward thinking on. If we're being completely blunt and completely honest, it is an area that absolutely needs to be revolutionized and rethought. And hopefully that is the direction that we're heading in. So, like we threw a party when Mose Phillips went to Missouri and we were like, he was asking for too much money. And I'm not going to call guys out by names, but there are plenty of guys who got paid plenty of money and haven't played very well. So like, it was just, I cannot wait to 2025 or even 2022 our process with this. And that's why I'm so encouraged because it's heading in the right direction. It's frustrating. It's taken this long to go in this direction, but I'm excited that we are heading in that direction. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on Whit in general before I move on to Monty?
More depth of conversation there coming. I will say it is about time, and I'm glad that there is vision and direction that has seemed to be lacking for a while.
Mm-hmm. As far as Coach Montgomery goes, a couple of his comments. He said practice needs rearranging, which is just further like pushing the narrative that I don't know what the hell we were doing over there. I don't know what we were doing. We weren't starting on time. It doesn't seem like we were very organized. It doesn't seem like things were like, to me as a player, that has to be refreshing to know that we're actually going to be coached, accountable, and everything else. So I appreciate that. I also thought he came off as an adult. I felt like doing that press conference, you're put in an impossible situation. Like that is not like a fun activity to get up there and talk about what he had to talk about. And I thought he handled it really well. Couple buzzwords that he used. Rewriting a story. I loved this one too. Lock in and jump into what we are doing here. So I love that. And what a cool touch. Full circle. Coach Montgomery coaching against Coach Beamer in 2015 and Coach Beamer's last game with Tulsa. And now the interim head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. It's quite a story. We were going to work this in on this podcast, but we'll hold off until ACC play just to reset expectations. Newsflash, we will not be going 8-4. So I will need to recalibrate my expectations, and I will get to work on that and try to be better moving forward. So
remember when everyone was upset because we would predict us going 6-6?
Yeah.
I
was trying to be
that was quite a cycle.
Yeah, it was. Okay. So this next section is, I just want to have a conversation about Whit Babcock's tenure. And first of all, I do want to thank everybody. I am making a commitment that I am going to do. I feel like I've done a very good job not talking about Justin James Fuente. And I got to get a lot off my chest on this last podcast. It was actually better received than I anticipated. I heard from a lot of people I haven't heard from in a very long time. If your opinions differ, completely fine, completely cool. But this is not something that I'm going to be regularly doing and hopefully never doing again. But I want to have a similar type conversation about Whit Babcock. And I want to I'll set the table here. And by the way, Pat, I don't know where he went, but he has quite a bit of information here culminated. Very impressive. My opinion is that you can live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or you can die a hero. And I am in no way saying that hero status should be placed here. But I think as we get to the end of this tenure, it's very easy to say, we have the worst athletic director in the world. We have the worst this, the worst that. And there is no denying that football writes the checks. Football is the cash cow, and football is what Virginia Tech fans care about the most. And it has fallen incredibly, incredibly short. Virginia Tech in his tenure is 74-69. The Brent Pry hire at the time and now, in my opinion, was awful. Didn't make sense to me when we did it. It worked out awful, and here we are today. The Justin Fuente hire at the time, really solid hire, didn't work out. I think a portion of it is his personality at Virginia Tech, and a portion of it is not getting the support that he needed to be great. If you want to talk about some other issues here, the mismanagement of the relationship with Kenny Brooks, the way that this always works is that the athletic director is the one who screwed it up, and that the coach had a bad relationship. I have no idea what happens there. I have no inside baseball in that situation, but I will just call it the mismanagement of the Kenny Brooks relationship. And then lastly, appointing or delegating John Boleyn the responsibilities of guiding the football ship when Desiree Reed-Francois left. Desiree Reed-Francois, by all accounts, did a phenomenal job with football and was the advocate for football. And I want to say this too, like John Boleyn is a huge character in the story of the success at Virginia Tech. He was the right-hand man for Frank Beamer. And it's sad, but it's true that there have been a lot of decisions made and news that has come out that has been not so great in the last decade. John Boleyn's an awesome dude. I a lot of respect for John Boleyn. I loved him when I was at Tech. But it's a shame. It's kind of the same situation. I feel like we've reached a point with this athletic department and with Whit and with several others in the athletic department where it's just time to go. It's time to do something else. And one more note, the lack of communication is a huge issue. When you go on YouTube and you watch, or you go on Twitter and you see videos of Ross Bjork, obviously he's one of the best in the country. He's at Ohio State. Or even you see, there was a video that came out of Arkansas's athletic director, and he was talking about their NIL situation. Like, communication is so, so important. And we talked about how important communication was with our last football hire. I feel like that's been a huge gap, is just the communication piece and just the public speaking piece. Like that is an area that has caused a lot of pain. And now I know we're going to go over kind of the tenure as a whole.
Before we kind of take the deep dive on Whit, I think we could even backtrack a little bit and start in 1997 with the previous tenure of Jim Weaver, who was the athletic director from 1997 up until Whit Babcock got here in 2014. Weaver got here to replace Dave Brain in 97 and helped Virginia Tech become a full-time member of the Big East, helped Virginia Tech become a member of the ACC in 2004, which was an absolutely critical juncture for Virginia Tech. And a lot of that was due to Governor Mark Warner. I actually didn't know he was governor at that time. I thought he had been a senator the whole time, but irrelevant information. Jim Weaver had a vision for Virginia Tech. He sculpted this vision of kind of making Virginia Tech a mini Penn State. He played football at Penn State. He coached at Penn State, played football for Joe Paterno. And he also was into the wrestling image of Penn State as well. Weaver saw a ton of upgrades on the facility side of the house. Over $200 million in facility upgrades, whether that was the West Side expansion of Lane Stadium, which was in 2005, got the Han Hurst Center for basketball, and really just kept the athletic department in the black during the duration of his tenure. He was certainly cautious and did not feel the need or motivation to understand how important it was going to be to capitalize on the golden era of Virginia Tech football, which he oversaw the entire golden era of Virginia Tech football. The 99 title run, a dozen or so top 10 and 10 win seasons, and Tech never did any sort of massive donor campaign to take advantage of those years, like Clemson has done, like multiple SEC and some of the top ACC competitors have done as well. Instead, Weaver was all focused on just leaning on debt financing to make sure we could finance these facility upgrades. And they were good. Like, they were solid. They were competitive facility upgrades. And Virginia Tech in like the 1999, 2000, 2001, kind of that era, Weaver was able to keep Frank from going to North Carolina, and we were able to upgrade our facilities and pay all of Frank's assistants as well. So we were setting ourselves up for success for that next decade or so. But as far as the Hokie Club goes, it was not treated with the care and TLC that it should have behind some of our other ACC peers. And then when football really plateaued out at the end of Frank's tenure, we had no sort of depth on the donor side to sustain any momentum. And, people also had qualms with how Weaver handled some situations, handled communications. The Seth Greenberg firing or any other coaches getting fired, like, it never was necessarily the best PR coming straight out of the athletic department.
A couple other things just to mention on what you talked about. I'm kind of mixed on this because getting into the ACC was such a huge deal, but it is worth mentioning that Virginia Tech could be in the SEC today as opposed to being in the ACC. It's very difficult to take a really staunch stance on that just because academics mattered back in that time point. So that's one thing to consider. And then two, you mentioned Seth Greenberg. We also replaced Seth Greenberg with James Johnson, which was also its own disaster. So
James, James, that was the most down the hall hire of all time.
Gosh.
And similarly, is it Dennis Wolf? Is that his name? Hiring of a women's basketball coach. I'm pretty sure we just placed a dude from the men's staff onto the women's team.
Mom and pop. So we've been doing the mom and pop thing for quite some time.
If it wasn't football, it didn't really matter under Jim Weaver. Jim Weaver was all about bolstering football at Virginia Tech, knowing that the measuring stick at Virginia Tech historically has been football and everything else. Football is, 90% of the pie, everything else, non-rev sports, in that next 10%.
Yeah.
Whit comes in, and I think his tenure has been a paradox, right? You've had some really, really nice highs, and then you've had some lows across the board as well. Football, high water marks. Let's just talk about high water marks in general that are relevant over the past few years. Win the Coastal in 2016. Coach Fuente is ACC Coach of the Year. You win the Belk Bowl over Arkansas. I think, indisputably the high water mark of the tenure. Mm-hmm. Did it ever get better than winning the Coastal in 2016? Maybe beating West Virginia week 1 the next year. But other than that, it's, seems to be plateauing from there, downward spiral after COVID. The drive for 25 launched in 2016 and hit in 2019, which was 6 years ahead of schedule. The objective was to get 25,000 contributors into the Hokie Club by 2025, and this was hit 3 years in. So that was a signature success of the Whit Babcock tenure at Virginia Tech. However, Bill Lansden was overseeing the Hokie Club. He resigned, I want to say 2020, 2019, 2021, around that era. And Virginia Tech has not really had any true leadership, sole proprietor leadership over the Hokie Club since then. Men's basketball, Buzz brought us back. Best hire. It was just bringing Virginia Tech relevance in basketball that we really hadn't had in decades. 3 straight tournaments, Sweet 16, Mike Young, knockout punch of a hire. one of the best hires in school history from a cultural standpoint and an expectation standpoint, and a guy that can just coach ball. ACC Coach of the Year in 2021, ACC Tournament Championship 2022. Give that man some resources. Give that man a roster. He will make you happy. He will beat Duke all the time, and he will bring wins to Blacksburg. Obviously, Kenny Brooks transformed the program forever, getting that 2023 Final Four, a couple ACC titles as well. That's a high watermark for sure. That's probably the highest watermark of any Virginia Tech accomplishment over the past 5 to 10 years, you could make the argument. And then Olympic sports or non-revenue sports, baseball, super regional, softball, makes the Women's College World Series, and then wrestling with multiple ACC championships, and then national champions like Mekhi Lewis in 2019, Caleb Henson in 2024. And Coach Roby is just, I think, pound for pound, one of the best guys over in that facility. He leads an awesome program with great people, and they are always producing results. I think that's one of Whit's best hires as well. He's had a handful of very good hires since he's been here. As far as some of the lower watermarks or opportunities that just have been missed, we haven't made the ACC championship game since 2016, first of all. Billy touched on, after Desiree leaving, having Coach Boleyn lead football operations, and seems to have, on other accounts, handcuffed our program in several different instances. Was great in the Beamer area, but the game had passed him by, really post-Beamer era, whether it was staff size, recruiting budget, recruiting staff, just modernization and keeping up.
That's the word. That's the word, though, that for me is the most frustrating thing. And I think it goes so much further than just Whit, but he's a big part of it, obviously, is the lack of forward thinking. Like, a lot of the things, I think that's why when the Metallica concert happened, people freaked out, because it was like, wow, we're doing something that other people are not doing. And that's been the most frustrating thing, is it seems like there's a lag between when things happen. We didn't fund football appropriately until somebody went and said we're not funding football properly publicly. It's almost like I don't know. It's kind of like when you're messaging somebody about something that you need and you have to say it 50 times. And then at some point you say it in front of a bunch of people, and then it gets done. That kind of has just seemed to be how it's gone for so long, especially with football. And if you look at wrestling and you look at basketball, I think something has to be said for the fact that they've been so successful, but so much of what they do, they're driving on their own. Like wrestling with the SERTC program, they're going out and doing it on their own. If you look at basketball, Buzz Williams came in and he didn't bring an athletic department with him, but he was like, this is my branding. This is how I'm going to do it. It actually kind of pissed a lot of people off from the outside, but he was ultra successful because he did it his way. And when you're an athletic director or you're an athletic department, you want to set up a system that amplifies the efforts of your coaches to be successful. And in some cases, there was no guide rails. There were no things that helped you be more successful. And in some cases, it handicapped programs. And that's what you saw.
I think I mentioned for Jim Weaver, it seemed like he had a vision. He wanted to elevate football at all costs. And Whit really has never had a vision or communicated a consistent vision other than elevating all sports, wanting to win a national championship. And the measuring stick at Virginia Tech is football. I'm sorry. It is football. A national championship in any non-football sports is going to be incredible for this fan base. But at the end of the day, the way that you're going to be evaluated by most of these people who wear orange and maroon on Saturdays is because of football. That will be the measuring stick at Virginia Tech, regardless of what Whit Babcock's job description is. This next athletic director that we have coming at some point, considering what this GM, president of football role looks like, should be very interesting to see how much oversight they have over football versus how much oversight is directly responsible for, any sort of GM role. Just a few other things that are relevant here. Recruiting dropped off. Talent acquisition slipped post Frank Beamer. Just in general, I think even not having a huddle account and not having the recruiting staff certainly contributes to that. But we have not had a 5-star Virginia Tech football player since class of 2013, Kendall Fuller. Shout out. It's been that long. So the facilities arms race, Virginia Tech and Lane Stadium, they have iconic structures. Castle is iconic for us, right? Lane Stadium is iconic for college football, but it is a dated building. Outside of like adding the scoreboard my freshman year, so I guess that was actually Weaver, and then some seat backs that no one enjoys, no one likes. Actually, one of the biggest stories of all of 2024. We haven't upgraded Lane Stadium in 20 years. Meanwhile, Florida State is adding a $200 million overhaul at Doak. Clemson's been moving some premium seating and luxury suite at Memorial Stadium. You got NC State has this cool premium area called Raleighwood that's been open for about 5 years now. It has bars, food trucks, live music, fan zones. You got Louisville expanding the fan zone with some premium seating. And then even like UNC, Duke, Wake Forest have rolled out some new unique luxury seating options. Lane has not done that. Lane has, I feel like there's been some prototypes and some conversations, but talk about it, but not actually execution on any sort of capital projects for Lane Stadium. And you could say the same thing for the Reach for Excellence campaign, which was planned to fix up Castle Coliseum, make it more modern. And with NIL, with COVID, I know several key indications, push that money over to other coffers, but haven't really pushed us forward in the facilities arms race at all. Losing Kenny was really tough. And then just, an overall communication. I feel like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it really seems like the downfall of Justin Fuente. Whit has really not held an executive presence in front of a microphone ever since the mid to end of the Fuente tenure. There is no executive presence. There is no confidence, and have really had a hard time watching any sort of press conference where Whit is at the stand, at the podium, taking questions or not, that I am fired up that this guy is leading my team. I know Billy talked about that. Like Danny White at Tennessee is out here tweeting, and I saw like a week ago he posted a long thing about holding himself accountable and blaming himself for something that went wrong.
It was getting into the gates at the game. They said, I've heard from fans that it took 20 minutes to get in the stadium. It's unacceptable. Here's what we're doing to fix it. Like, you're totally right. Having a voice, we haven't had one. And I think a large form of the toxicity that you see on the timeline that you see everywhere else is just a lack of like having anybody to talk to. Right. And I think, I do want to give credit to guys like Brad Worthman, Evan Massengill, Whit Babcock's been on this podcast as well. Like, when they talk, it helps. But if you don't talk at all and people are frustrated by the result, it just leaves a gap when Virginia Tech, for lack of better terms, Pat, needs like leadership, like proactive, visible leadership. And it's lacked that from the president down. Like that is the most frustrating thing, is a lack of what's happening, who's in charge of this. It's kind of like walking into like a McDonald's or walking into a hotel and nobody's at the clerk's office. You're like, hello. You're like that meme from Pulp Fiction, just kind of looking around for somebody. That's what it feels like. And one more thing before you move off of the facilities. Completely agree. I did look up how some of these were funded, and it speaks to two things. The first thing it speaks to is Florida State issued bonds of $326.6 million to cover the stadium renovation. They also got $20 million from the local government to help build it out. The town of Blacksburg is not free from any type of like pushback on this. And that's why this is so frustrating. Like when somebody texts you and they ask you like what happened to Virginia Tech football, I almost want to write like a diatribe of like, yes, we've had bad coaches. We've had not great players. We've lost a lot of games. By the way, the town is holding the university weight back. By the way, this is happening. This is happening. This is happening. We talked about it on the last podcast. Like from all we can glean, it seems like Tim Sands' presidency of Virginia Tech is coming to a close. However, in the politics world, it seems like that won't happen until it was funny. People were asking me, I didn't know there was a goober race in November, but there is a gubernatorial race coming up in November, and he will likely not make that decision until he is replaced by who he wants to be replaced based upon who's going to win the governor election, which we all believe we know the answer to. So it is just so Virginia Tech to have this type of timing, this type of situation, and ultimately, can somebody come down and like talk about it? You mentioned the Clemson upgrades. That's coming from IPTE because they did an unbelievable job of doing it. And Louisville is also getting some help from a couple of their large corporate sponsors, which is another gap that we've had. Where are the corporate sponsorships? There was Carillion that sponsored the basketball court, but we're not seeing a logo on midfield. When we were announcing our uniforms for the first week, I was like, is Waffle House about to be on the field? That would be sick. We haven't gotten a corporate sponsorship yet, which is troubling.
I mean, how much does it cost to just spray paint a logo on the 25-yard line? Like that is an unused asset. How are we letting that go unused? What is the cost of a Sons of Saturday logo on the 30-yard line? Let me know, because there's an opportunity cost. I'm sure if we pay $1,000 for it, it's whatever. Okay. Whit has not tweeted since 2022 is the point that I was trying to make. If you're not tweeting, I'm sorry, you have to have a presence. It's part of the job. It's part of the game. You're trying to raise money. You're trying to give people a reason to believe in you. And fans are just wondering, what is the plan here? Not everything's reactionary. I might hear from Whit if I open up my annual report that I get every year from the Hokie Club. It's like a message from the AD, and it's like a page and a half. And that's it. It's like we got what leadership. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Is it time to talk about what we can spotlight this on, this $200 million thing? Because this is where it gets really interesting.
Yes.
Where are we today?
So I have one preamble before we get to that. And I'm calling this Pablo Torre Ray Finds Out. If you're aware of Pablo Torre, he has a show called Pablo Torre Finds Out. And the headline of what I'm about to say is, I think, a fair estimation or reaction to Whit Babcock's tenure starting in 2014 is mixed. If you want to put it that way, it's mixed. And the moneymaker football, it's been the most disappointing part. So it's probably worse than mixed for most in their opinions. With that said, if he is able to get this $200 million approved, which by all available information, that is going to happen, that will be by far the best thing that he has accomplished in his tenure, and it should absolutely be celebrated. And I want to talk about this for a second. There were two posts by CZY Hokie, who is a legend, and he knows things. We'll leave it at he knows things. Here are two posts, and this is why I want to put a little more respect on Whit's name, because when this budget conversation started, everybody was saying, man, like too little too late, or this didn't happen fast enough, or like why are we only now having this conversation? So his two posts, I'm paraphrasing them, but this is what he said. The CFO's office is a major reason we have not properly funded athletics and resources. It was from multiple people in the office and outside of the office over 20-ish years that have said this. When you get chargebacks on something as simple as parking or general utilities, there is a problem. I agree. The second post is the death punch, though. And again, I'm not going to name these people by names. I have not met them. I have not interacted with them. It's wrong to then label them as the, awful worst person ever because of how things went down. But these are some of the challenges that we were facing. The C, I'll leave it blank, O, and C blank O. So two C-level employees at the university office were, quote, huge opponents of athletics. The word obstructionist is appropriate here. And this is the picture that he painted. If there was an athletics capital construction project, and let's say it costed $100 million, and the donors went out and donated to fund it fully, this is going to piss so many people off. 20% would be taken out of that for overseeing campus projects, and then they would tell athletics to go raise more money if the project overruns, even though it was fully funded by donors. So here's where we can finally connect the dots. Remember when Chris Coleman on Tech Sideline was saying the Reach for Excellence campaign, the numbers don't add up? Like, why is the school not matching this amount? It seems like that's the reason that it's not matching the amount. And to the people who said, why wasn't this done earlier? I refuse to believe that Whit Babcock did not at any point ask to raise the embarrassing funding that we have had within the athletic department. It is embarrassing how much these fans care, how much money there is out there, and how little money the athletic department has had to operate in. So apparently what happened is, this is being reported nationally and this is being reported locally, that Whit circumvented the process, went around who he's supposed to go around, and went directly to the board, which he is not supposed to do, and which likely pissed a lot of people off, and said, look, here's the situation. You guys got to fix it. And I remember when they had that board meeting, we had multiple conversations. This is so much like Justin Fuente with the Baylor situation. It's very, very similar. He took a page out of Justin Fuente's book where he was like, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to go public with all of it. Wasn't it weird that reporters were at the BOV meeting as if it was like a public event? David Teal was there. David Cunningham was there. Everybody was there. Andy Bitter was there. They were all in attendance and live tweeting a board meeting. Has that ever happened? The answer is no. Wasn't it weird that the presentation that Doug Bowman put out was public? He said when he came on this podcast, it was very weird and abnormal to have as much information as was on it when he found it. Now, Doug, to his credit, had to go dig it up. So this is what I want to leave it with. If this is the parting gift that comes from Whit Babcock, we should 100% celebrate that. And that is a massive deal. I understand the sins of the past. I totally get it. They're totally fair to be frustrated with. But $200 million completely changes where Virginia Tech can go immediately. And he did it in a way that probably got him a lot of heat. And I'm so glad that he did it. And it's going to make Virginia Tech better. Before we get into what the $200 million means, just curious on any thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, right now, the budget is what? Like 125, 122 million?
122.
Which is 14th in the ACC, which is well below the average of 144 million per school.
Correct.
And way behind Clemson, which is 190, correct, and Florida State, which is 170. So if the BOV approves this $200 million budget by the end of September, Tech goes from the bottom tier in the ACC to the top 3 or top 4 in financial resourcing for the athletic department. This puts us with Clemson. This puts us with Florida State. This is completely transformational when it comes to any sort of salary for head coach. Like if we get this approved, we are legitimately in the neighborhood of being able to pay a head coach $10 million a year.
Yes.
Which is insane to think about as a Virginia Tech fan. Like, you want to talk about legacy, like this could be an absolute positive stamp on Whit Babcock's legacy if this dollar figure is approved in a few weeks. This gets you to more analysts, a bigger recruiting staff. You get better operations for your facilities. You're not just renovating at this point. You are actually building some cool stuff.
You're not hemming and hawing about having to put money into NIL. You're not hemming and hawing about staffing your NIL corporation. You're not hemming and hawing about hiring a GM. You're not penny pinching in these situations anymore. Like, this cannot go undersold. And just to break it down to you in like the very simplest terms ever, because I didn't understand it until Ed picked up the phone and literally said this to me. Virginia Tech is currently spending $122 million per Whit's presentation. Getting to $200 million will sandwich us above Clemson and below Notre Dame, which would be second in the ACC according to his numbers. Like, that is a transformational deal. It's frustrating it didn't happen. It's frustrating that it took this long. I have a really hard time pinning it on Whit and I think the concept that he did not ever think to do this and just woke up one day and was like, you know what? I think I'm going to ask for more money for athletics today. I think that's a great idea. I rolled out of bed. Whit hits his little alarm clock, boop. And he goes, I think I need some more money. No, I'm sure this is an ask that happened multiple times. I'm sure this is an ask that was rejected multiple times. And he went to our guy, Rocco, right? And he says, look, you need to get the gang together. You need to figure this out. And I have the utmost confidence that they will figure it out, and it will be one of the biggest and best days this school has had in a long time.
It's good to say.
If you care about sports.
You bolster your NIL. Guys, guess what? Metallica, they might come every year with this type of budget. The LED lights that everyone likes to talk about, we might be able to get some. We might be able to get some Wi-Fi. The recruiting budget will be off the charts. I think this could be an epic parting gift from Whit. He might be remembered as an AD who wasn't able to get football right or wasn't able to accelerate football. But if he is able to leave the resources in place for the next guy and the next coach and a GM, I think it's, bottom line here. We had some high water marks in basketball, high water marks in the Drive for 25 with fundraising, but missed a lot of opportunities in football over the last decade, and certainly a complicated legacy. Some of the best moments that Virginia Tech basketball fans have ever experienced, but also the worst football moments that Virginia Tech football fans have ever experienced. And if your measuring stick is football, then it's a failure. If your measuring stick is basketball, then you're like, hey, let's keep them forever. So alignment is just so key moving forward with this Goober national election here. We need alignment between the BOV, the president, the AD, the GM, the head football coach. There needs to be top-down alignment. So we're not having folks from university over here siphoning money away that's supposed to be directed for football. And then football says, hey, we need that money. Why don't we have, X, Y, and Z for our Reach for Excellence campaign? Oh, it's because this department was siphoning money away to, fill their coffers on whatever they're filling their coffers on. So let's get back on the map with football. Let's pay a coach $10 million a year. I'll be surprised if we're paying someone $10 million a year. I really am. And I know the deal is not done, but depending on how much money is approved here, I think we could be in a situation where brighter days are indeed ahead. My fingers are crossed, Billy Ray.
So with that, we'll move into coaching corner. I do want to quote my guy, Tim Thomas. We were going back and forth. I feel like we have a back and forth every 2 weeks. You can put it on your Google Calendar and make it a recurring event. But we were basically going back and forth, and he's not the only one, but a lot of people are floating this sentiment of why would such and such coach go to Virginia Tech? He said there's no evidence that Virginia Tech will be at the top of the funding pool. So I assume that his jargon and everybody's jargon will change when this funding is hopefully secured coming up here soon. Again, I keep saying hopefully, I would be shocked if it's not. Everything is pointing to it being approved. But it really makes me want to talk about this whole, so-and-so won't go there. They're not going to go to that school. Shut up. I think that whole narrative is complete and utter, cover your kids' ears, bullshit. If the goal is to win, and the goal is, can I make the college football playoff at this school? Clemson is wonky. Miami has never been consistent. SMU and Georgia Tech, you guys just got here. You have a super passionate fan base. You have an amazing town that you get to live in. This whole notion that if you're in the Power 2, you're not going to leave for a Virginia Tech job. I would love any one of you that are watching this to look me in the face right now and tell me that it is easier to win at any one of these schools. Maryland, Minnesota, Rutgers, Purdue, UCLA, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas, South Carolina. You think it's easier to make the college football playoff at those schools than it is at Virginia Tech? Not to mention this school and fan base are about to get on the same page and care about athletics the way that you wanted to. What's really funny about that list is we've actually lost to multiple schools on that list. Yes, I am fully aware that we have lost to Rutgers, we've lost to Purdue, we've lost to South Carolina, we've lost to Kentucky, we've lost to Vanderbilt. Damn, we lost to Maryland. We've almost lost this whole list. But this job is absolutely easier to make the college football playoff in a down ACC. And everybody wants to talk about conference realignment. I truly don't care and honestly would sign up for a Buzz Williams situation tomorrow with football. If you're telling me a coach comes in here and they have a 5-year plan where they're going to turn the program around, they're going to win a bunch of games and they're going to go to their next job, that's fine. We got to stop trying to make it, who's going to be our next coach? And we got to make it work for 20 or 30 years. Newsflash, the Frank Beamers of the world, the Dan Snyders of the world, not Dan Snyder, Bill Snyder from Kansas State. That is super rare. That is super, super rare. So this whole notion that Virginia Tech is some second-rate, third-rate job and people should go to Kentucky and coach football instead of going to Virginia Tech is bogus. And I want to get away from that. So has that not pissed you off these last couple of weeks, just hearing that over and over and over again?
I think a lot of people are just fatigued from all the losing and without having an understanding of the money situation that's being lobbied for right now. I understand where those points of view are coming from, right?
Well, not just internally though, it's externally. You listen to some of these national pundits, and I understand
they don't
from
know
the outside
anything.
looking in and not knowing about the funding. I totally get it, but when a South Carolina fan, there are a lot of South Carolina fans that listen to this podcast and shout out, but a lot of people are there is no chance that Shane Beamer is going to leave South Carolina to take this job. Did you guys ask him? I mean, there's no chance that, what's another good example? I don't remember who the coach was, but it was this coach would rather take the Kentucky or Arkansas job. Really? Unbiasedly, if I can go coach at Kentucky or Virginia Tech, I know that I can win at Virginia Tech much easier than I can win at Kentucky. So that drives me crazy. Shall we get into some candidates here?
Yes. Would you like to kick it off with our
yes,
with our favorite two, or do you want to play the game?
Well, I have two that are a little preposterous, and then I have one that I know we're doing a deep dive on. Pete Nakos drives me nuts. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Does a lot of tweets that it's the On3 thing, man. On3 loves to tweet stuff that, On3 is like Bleacher Report on steroids. They just tweet something that is going to get a lot of love. And he was pushing the his tweet was Virginia Tech legend Michael Vick is in his first season at Norfolk State. Please remember that first sentence because it's going to be important in a second. Sources have told On3 Sports that some VT boosters pushed Vick to get coaching experience. It would not surprise anybody in the industry if Vick is a serious name at Virginia Tech in future coaching searches. Now, people have taken that and ran with it and basically said, why don't we just hire Michael Vick now? I love Michael Vick. Michael Vick is awesome. He changed the school. He's coaching at Norfolk State. He's a legend in Blacksburg. He's coached 3 games, Pat. His next opponent is Sacred Heart. He has no business being Virginia Tech's coach in 2026. And to be hoping and advocating for that, 1, is not going to get it done. And 2, it's patently ridiculous. And I think if you asked him directly, he'd be like, no, I want to get more experience. And if that's in the future and that's something that makes sense in the future, great. But right now, absolutely not.
It's exciting to think about when you look at all the buzz and media coverage and famous people that are showing out and showing up for Deion. Deion's 500 at this point. Deion,
and he had plenty of experience. He had a ton of experience. He won at Jackson State. he was bringing two generational players. I won't go as far as to call Shedeur generational, but Travis Hunter was definitely generational. He brought 2 first-round talents with him to Colorado. By the way, Colorado, like close to probably the worst Power 4 program in the country in the 2000s, but by far, was awful.
Yeah, and they're pretty much a non-story right now. No one really cares about Colorado anymore. They don't have Deion. They don't have Travis Hunter. Even when they did, they were nothing better than a 7-5 ball club, and they're 1-2 kicking off this year. So, I mean, Deion had all the resources you could have asked for, and it's been a failure. And I think Deion has more of more juice when, I can't tell you, I'm not in Michael Vick's, team meetings, but I see Deion as a motivator, and I just don't see Mike as that kind of role yet.
He doesn't.
But again,
Deion Sanders has a lot of outward gumption. And I'll say this about the Deion Sanders tenure too, and I know Ed Williams is listening to this, and we have disagreed on this, but I don't know if Deion Sanders is a good or even average Power 4 coach. But I will say this. If you told Colorado you can go in a time machine and either do the Deion thing again or not, they would do it. And that speaks more to where Colorado was and where they are now. And Virginia Tech can't say that same thing. They absolutely cannot miss and screw around with this hiring decision. Right. It would be cool to see Michael Vick here one day. It can't be next year.
Right. Colorado has never had a real standard for their football program. I know they were good in 1990, but that doesn't mean that they are what you think they are, right?
Yes.
Virginia Tech and Colorado, I think it's pretty clear who has a more traditional history as a college football program. So
Mike,
I would love to see Mike in Blacksburg at one point. It should not be anytime soon. My theory going into this was if Virginia Tech doesn't get any funding approved, and if we were going to just kind of flounder and wait to fire Coach Pry until like November, and we swing and miss on all other options, then I would say, okay, let's take a flyer on Mike. But I think that's, if only if those other dominoes have fallen beforehand. I would say it's more of a last resort. Hey, we can always go to Mike versus, let's actually take some big swings because we're going to have some, hopefully have some bigger pockets.
And lastly, again, it has nothing to do with Michael Vick, the guy, or Michael Vick. It's just the credentials. If Michael Vick didn't play at Virginia Tech, you would not even remotely consider him for this job. That's just the way that it is. And I hope it'd be cool to work out in the future. Another preposterous thing that we saw today, Mike Jones, not the guy from our basketball team. This is an actual reporter from The Athletic, tweeted today. This guy's got 30,000 followers. I thought this was like a joke tweet. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Virginia Tech football job. I'm told former Hokie and Pro Bowl cornerback D'Angelo Hall has strong interest. Hall most recently coached DBs in Carolina and considered for the 49ers defensive backs coach this offseason. I butchered the end of that. You know why I butchered it? Because that is so patently and utterly ridiculous. Again, this has nothing to do with D'Angelo Hall. Hey, I spoke to Sam Rogers today, Pat. I actually did. And he said he would like to coach at Virginia Tech. He would love to be the head coach. So I actually, Sons of Saturday, would like to announce that Sam Rogers has strong interest for the Virginia Tech head coaching job. I cannot believe we're going to go through this for the next 2.5 months. Hey, why don't you actually ask Kathleen if she wants to be the head coach of Virginia Tech? And we can announce that one too.
She's an alum.
Again,
she went to Virginia Tech and posts good cooking videos on Instagram.
Again, it has nothing to do with D'Angelo Hall at all. Great Hokie, played well. I think people need to get serious about how much funding we have and what we need to do here. So anyway, this is the big one. Shane Beamer. And I already talked about this. I think the concept of he wouldn't do it is incorrect. I'm not saying that he would do it, but to outwardly say there's no way that it would happen, I think is pretty preposterous. He would need to be doing a little bit of walking back from his Netflix special. I've already kind of written the PR on it. He could come out and he'd be like, I was running what was for actually meant for me. This place means the world. Being able to walk to work every day, see my pops who I love and I admire, make sure we got the right quarter zip on them for game day. In my heart, I love the Palmetto State. But you know what else I love? PKs, Palmetto PKs. Give me PKs all day if we're talking about things that start with P. So anyway, my stance on Shane Beamer is this: if you can do this, you have to do this. You absolutely must do this. And people may disagree with that. The story would be the greatest story in college football if he was able to make this happen. And you can argue the other side of it, and you could say, man, like, what if Virginia Tech's in a position where they have to fire a Beamer? And I know we're getting a little out of control because, like, this is just a coaching rumor, but we're going to be doing this for 2.5 months. The idea that his father came here, took a program that was in the ashes, elevated it to the fourth quarter of a national title, and then he can come here and he can resurrect a program that is now in the ashes again, in the gutter again, under more than likely a new athletic director. It's like storybook stuff, man. It truly is. So I did get all of my excitement out. So now talk me back to earth a little bit.
So you're just doing this because it's a good story?
No, I'm not doing it because it's a good story. I'm doing it because I'm really impressed with how well he's recruited at South Carolina. And I think another thing that's crucially important, maybe I do need to walk back. You absolutely need to do it. But I have a really hard time, if this is a possibility, you not making it one of your top choices. I have two caveats. The first caveat that I have is I think that it's crucially important that you hire coordinators correctly. You're not hiring Shane Beamer because he is an offensive genius or he's a defensive genius. Now, he does put a lot of emphasis on special teams, but he is quintessentially such an impressive CEO. Like, you talk about how important communication is. You talk about how important it is to delegate to the right people. He has done that at South Carolina, in the exception of Mike Shula. I think Mike Shula was a really bad move by South Carolina, and I think that they're paying for it right now. But if you have a large enough salary pool where you can, one, pay Shane Beamer, and two, you can put the right people around him, he recruits well, he speaks to the fan base well, he has an awesome personality. My second caveat, I do think at times he's a little overly emotional. On the sideline, he has his outbursts, and part of that is what makes him great. But if you're looking at this from a human being perspective, the amount of pressure that would be on Shane Beamer in coming back to this place would be unbelievable. It really would. It's a pretty preposterous comparison, but it's the closest thing that I can think of. It'd almost be like Nick Saban going to Alabama after leaving LSU. Like, to go to South Carolina and then come back to where your dad coaches and walking past his statue every single day. Like, there are tremendous challenges in that for a young coach who has done pretty well at South Carolina, and I think impressed a lot of people. So those are my two caveats.
Here's the upside. He has had some big wins. He has beaten multiple top 10 teams in the same season. And he's done something 2 times that Tech has not done since 2007. What is it?
Beat Clemson.
Beat Clemson 2 times. And I think winning 8 games in the SEC is kind of comparable to winning the Coastal during its down years. I'm talking about the Coastal when whoever you were going to lose to Clemson by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. This is a guy whose teams are always going to compete for him. The locker room is always bought in. Do not look at this past Saturday as evidence there. But I think that he also would be a guy coming in with institutional backing at Virginia Tech. If he's aligned with a new athletic director, he would be the type to always get that support, not really hear no ever. And instead of red tape, he'd be getting resources. Mm-hmm. But he has a below 500 record as the head coach of the Gamecocks in the SEC. 15-18, pretty sure his record is. And despite that, his overall record during his first 4 years at Carolina is 29-22, which is actually making him the winningest coach in South Carolina history over his first 4 seasons. So you're like, wait a second. This guy's like a savior. He's like one of their best coaches that they've ever had. I guess it's Coach Spurrier at the top and then Shane Beamer in the last couple decades here.
But that's why it makes more sense to me too, is because just how much, like, again, you come back to that question of like, can I really win here? Like, can I really win enough to satisfy South Carolina fans? We said it when we were previewing South Carolina. South Carolina is one of the, and it's special about them, but like, how realistic is it for Shane Beamer to win enough games in that conference, or any coach for that matter, at South Carolina and not wear out his welcome? Like, South Carolina is not like Iowa State, where Iowa State has been cool with Matt Campbell, like coming close and not getting over the top or making it to the conference championship. And I think it's wrong to tell South Carolina, like, your expectations are too high, because we're big proponents of like fan harder. But there's something to be said about the fact that, like, even after this weekend, Lenora Sellers gets hurt, you lose to Vanderbilt, and Shane's already getting a side eye from South Carolina, which is to me is crazy. But it's happening.
You also take some risks with him too. Like, there has not been any track record of consistent winning from Shane Beamer since he took over. Nothing year over year that's been sustained that you're like, all right, that is a program that will be a fixture in the SEC for the next decade. Just because there's not enough wins. And the South Carolina thing, I mean, he's following the script, right? He loves it here. He wants to retire here. He was born here. And it just talks very openly about his love for the state. And I think, yes, there is a lot more pressure in Blacksburg than there would be in South Carolina, because Tech fans are eventually going to want to get back to that 10-win season threshold every single year. And if he does get us winning again, the constant father-son comparison is going to become the everlong, evergreen storyline in every single narrative. And what Virginia Tech right now would call improvement is what he's actually already doing at South Carolina. So it's like, why flip the status quo? It makes it a conflict there. But also, like, is this not just an emotional hire? If you think about it, like, there's sentimental value in this. I know it would be a good fit on paper, but like, would we be having this conversation, Billy Ray, if Shane Beamer's last name was Orgeron or Muschamp? Like, would it feel the same? Because
it certainly wouldn't feel the same. There are some coaches on my list that I'm really excited about that actually have lower credentials on paper than Shane Beamer does. I mean, if you look at Shane Beamer, like, he coached with Phil Fulmer, he coached with Steve Spurrier, he coached with Kirby Smart, he coached with Lincoln Riley. Like, he has a very impressive resume. I also do want to say, on just something that you said, I do think that he genuinely does love South Carolina. 100%.
I do too. I do too.
I think he really loves, and I'll be honest, like, if you're a South Carolina fan listening, it sucks because there is a form of jealousy. Like, there's no way around it. Like, watching Shane on the sideline with you guys, seeing videos of Shane go out, like, he's such a lovable character and he's such a big part of our lives. And what's really interesting about Shane, if we're being honest, he's nothing like his father in the way that he coaches and the way that he acts from a personality perspective. If you want to say, yes, he prioritizes special teams, that's about where it ends. He's extremely fiery. He has done, like, when Frank Beamer did the video in the locker room with the team, that like viral trend, he did that. And for like that one piece of content, Shane has done like 90 things, which is interesting. He also has very public beefs with other coaches, something that Coach Beamer wouldn't do. So to that point, the comparisons, like, as a fan base, it's unfair, but it'd be unavoidable that he would be compared to his father, even though they're completely different. Another thing that's different, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, is Frank Beamer was so consistent with winning 10 games, but never won the big one. And Shane's calling card at South Carolina is he consistently finds ways to win games against against highly rated opponents. So it's kind of interesting how you have that yin and yang with both of them.
I think, yeah, just going on to the comps, Will Muschamp won 11 games at Florida in 2012, but similarly, he had those recruiting highs. He had some big wins, but he had zero consistency, both at Florida and at South Carolina. I think your comp is a little closer right now. Shane Beamer right now to Dan Mullen when he was at Mississippi State. You had bowl games in the SEC. He slayed the giant every now and then, but they were not a perennial power. There was no long-term consistency. Obviously at Mississippi State, Dan Mullen goes to Florida later. And Coach O, like, if you take 2019 out of Coach O's LSU tenure, you built some culture. You had the high energy on the recruiting trail. Definitely had some chaos here and there. Remember, they lost to Troy, but you also had some peaks to complement those valleys as well. So I would say, at the end of the day, Shane is a high upside, high risk name for Virginia Tech. He's beaten those top 10 teams. He's a player's coach. He's got the recruiting energy. Can recruit the footprint, as they say. Shane has been doing that for a very, very long time. But I think the flip side, no track record of real consistent winning like Frank did in the early 2000s. The pressure is insurmountable if you were to come to Blacksburg. And there's just risk in it being sort of an emotional, sentimental hire, rather than, hey, this guy can build a program. I think the question is, hey, are we open to gambling on a legacy, or do we want to go in a different direction here? So speaking of going in a differerent direction, Billy Ray, we have been talking to you guys for an hour and a half.
Real quick. I'm sorry. I know we have been going for an hour and a half, but it is interesting stuff. The two things about Shane, first of all, it is crazy to think that he's been there this is his 5th year. And the second thing is, Pete B is very bearish on this, and he made a really good point today. There's a very real possibility that Shane just straight up misses a bowl game after being a top 15 team in the country coming in. Like the rest of his schedule is like wild. In the next 5 weeks, they play Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Kentucky, like Missouri. They have a tough stretch coming up here. So, yeah, that is about as in depth as we could possibly go on Shane Beamer. I loved your comps, by the way. Our next activity here, I have a list, and it is of coaches and some quick hitters on why I like them. And Pat, we're going to go yin for yang here. And I will let you know if you pick one of mine, or if you let me know if you pick one of mine. Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You are more than welcome to go first. Let's do 3, just because we are burning daylight here. We got plenty of time to talk about coaches later.
Sure. I'm gonna go. I mean, first pick. I feel like the first picks are probably pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go with John Summerall. He's not from a crazy coaching tree. He just wins. He wins everywhere that he's been. This year at Tulane, he brings in this quarterback late. He's able to sustain success in the age of NIL, where they come and take his best players every single year. At Troy, he went 12-2 and 11-2, and at Tulane, he's 9-5 last year and 3-0 this year. So, look, John Summerall, I'm really impressed. Another fun fact for Hokies is Jonathan Galante, who used to be on special teams here at Virginia Tech. He is on that staff, so hopefully he is talking to him a little bit about the Hokies.
My first pick here, this guy is from Camden, New Jersey. He's known to be one of the top recruiters in the country. He is a Kirby Smart descendant. He has a defensive mind, defensive back pedigree, very much into recruiting around the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, kind of mid-Atlantic. Huge personality, is always boosting Syracuse. Has them running sprints after the game. Says, hey, I'm not showering, and you guys shouldn't shower unless we are winning football games. And I mean, I think Fran Brown could do a lot for Virginia Tech. And I mean, he won a ton of football games last year. He went to
How
Syracuse.
fun would he be to cover?
Raided the portal. Kyle McCord. I still can't believe we lost that game. Fran Brown is awesome. I would love for him to be our football coach.
He would be so fun to cover. He's on my list as well. This next one, the words I have written next to him are grit and maximizer. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame as a player. His name's Pat Fitzgerald. I'm shocked at how little this name has been thrown around and how many people are outwardly against this. He had 9 winning seasons at Northwestern. Pat, I'm about to knock your socks off with this statistic that I got from David Teal today. Pat Fitzgerald is 2 years younger than Brent Pry. He's 50. Brent Pry is 52. Pat Fitzgerald has 17 years of head coaching experience in the Power Four at 50 years old.
Hell yeah.
That is insane. Talk about grit. Talk about maximizing. Like, he's been exonerated of the hazing. Okay. So there's that for what it's worth. I know that's probably going to be a question and vetted as we go through it, which it should be. Totally get it. But look, this guy maximized Northwestern. I like the way that he runs a program. I've actually met a couple of people who work for him. They absolutely loved working for him. I love Pat Fitzgerald. I would take him tomorrow.
My next coach, I'm going to pull a coordinator out of the hat here. And I think if you are going to pull a top coordinator, they need to be at one of the top 3 programs from the SEC or the Big Ten. And Oregon football offensively has been a thrill to watch, whether it's Dylan Gabriel or Bo Nix. Will Stein, young guy, 34 years old, played quarterback at Louisville. Very much into developing quarterbacks. He's very aggressive, calling plays. Just being in Dan Lanning's locker room gets me excited, gets me fired up. Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in college football. He is one of the best guys to motivate young people to go and win football games. He's got a pretty short resume, but I think just if we actually wanted a guy to modernize Virginia Tech football's offense so we're not checking it down every other play and actually throwing the football past the sticks down the field, Will Stein is your guy. Will Stein is the guy. You just got to build a staff around him because he's so young. But that could be a very hot name in this search.
Would you mind if I round this out with 2? Because there's one that's obvious we're missing, and then I have one I'm very excited about. And then we can close this out. Unless you had one more you were really passionate about sharing.
Go for it.
Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen is 106-61 all time. He has 2 top 15 finishes at Mississippi State. At one point, the Mississippi State Bulldogs were number 1 in the country in 2014. He went 34 and 15 at Florida. And here's the thing. I truly believe that he was fired from Florida because he just so happened to run into one of the best coaches of all time in Kirby Smart. Like, sometimes you really can't do anything about that. And a preconceived notion that's absolute cover your kids' ears again, I'll actually save you guys, is BS, is that he can't recruit. So in his time at Florida in 2018, here are his composite rankings for recruiting. 2018, 14th, 2019, 9th, 2020th, 9th, and 2021, 12th. If that's bad at recruiting, I don't really know what to tell you. That seems pretty good to me. So Dan Mullen is a name that's been thrown around a lot. Do you have any thoughts on Dan Mullen? Are you in? Are you out?
I know he has a rather large buyout at UNLV right now. I also think that recruiting perception is mainly because Kirby was launching top 5 classes year after year, and Dan was launching top 15 classes. And in the SEC, that is too large of a margin, and that will get you fired.
And it did.
High expectations. That's what they pay you the big bucks for. So I would take him tomorrow.
This last name I'm really excited about. I'm actually going to try to let people guess who it is. This person is connected to Phil Montgomery. They were both at Baylor together. He's an offensive genius. He's connected to Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel, Brent Venables, and Art Briles. I have met him and shook his hand. And he has a great history with quarterbacks that were not great in the pros, but he maximized in college. I'm going to give everybody a second to guess who this is. The 3 quarterbacks that he coached were Mackenzie Milton, freshman year, Dylan Gabriel, who was special. He threw 29 touchdowns and 3,600 yards his freshman year. And then Matt Corral, and that is what gives it away. His name is Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby is the head coach at Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby has an awesome personality. He's taken, if you go ahead and you look at like Mississippi State's record, yes, he's been there for 5 minutes. They're not very good. He's turned it around. He just beat Arizona State in Starkville. It's the biggest win that Mississippi State has had since Brendan Walker probably didn't have to do touch of gray in his hair. And I am all in on Jeff Lebby. I think he's an outside the box guy that nobody's talking about, and I like him a lot. So we're going to be doing this a lot. We're going to be talking about coaches a lot. Do you have any thoughts on Jeff Lebby? Any opinion?
Matt Corral is a throwback.
Love Matt
Talk about
Corral.
a guy who's just been around some big names. I mean, he was with Bob Stoops for half a decade back in the early 2000s. I mean, yeah, he's just a quarterback whisperer. I know that.
Fun fact.
I know that could be
off-putting to some. Fun fact, Art Briles is actually Jeff Lebby's father-in-law. Pretty fun fact that many don't know. We'll go rapid fire through this, but I did just want to get in Sons of Social, and then we'll hit the road. And for all of you, if you're looking for these segments, where I'm actually going to put them up as separate ones. So we'll do like the Wofford preview, we'll do the recruiting, we'll do I can't even remember what we talked about because we talked about so much today. First of all, cheers to Aaron Rouse for deleting his tweet. That was the correct move. That was the correct move. It was an awful tweet.
I didn't know you were gonna go that direction today.
Oh no, it was an awful tweet. And it was a good on you for deleting it. That was a tough look, but we're moving on. David Hale. This one's painful. VT since 2012, a 78-80 record versus the FBS, a 60-70 record versus P5, 10 losses to non-Power 5. KU is the only Power 4 with more. Their best ranking is 12th. Their best end-of-year ranking is 16th. We have a 40.6 win percentage in one-score games. Good God, man. That is just so awful. 39 losses as a favorite. Unbelievable. And 39-33 at Lane Stadium versus the FBS, which is the same as Duke's home record. Pat, the only explanation is Danny Cole, dude. That's the only explanation. Those are bad numbers, man. Those are tough numbers.
Yeah, I don't have much to say other than let's wheel that wheelbarrow of cash in pretty soon. And I don't think it needs to be a wheelbarrow. I think we need like several F-150s just loaded with cash.
Yeah, or Silverados. College Football Zone also put out that Virginia Tech is the third worst team against the spread this year. We are minus 56 against the spread. So we are losing to the spread by 56 points.
That's like every year. I feel like every year we're bad against the spread.
Just to put into perspective how awful UCLA is, they were minus 78 against the spread. But we are third in the country behind UCLA and Coastal. So there you go. Last one. I thought this was hilarious. For those of you that saw Theo Vaughn, he was interviewed on the sideline of the Vanderbilt South Carolina game, and he said that Diego Pavia told him if they won, that he would hook up Theo with his mom, who's a nurse. And then Diego, after the game, tweeted at Theo and said, I said I would only do that if you asked Tate McRae if she would go on a date with me. So Theo Vaughn was kind enough to message Tate McRae on Diego Pavia's behalf. and said, "Hey, Tate, my friend said I can take his mom on a date, but only if he is able to take you on a date. Here is a picture of him. It is a flattering picture of Diego Pavia." And he says, "If you don't want to go on a date with him, I can also take you on a date."
So good. I love both of them.
I love them both so much, man.
I think we need Tate and Diego on the pod, on Theo Vaughn's pod.
I would love that. That
would
would
be a riveting
unbelievable.
conversation.
Last thing, letters from the lunch pail. This one comes from Pete McGee. He said, conversation I haven't seen yet. Does anyone from the current staff get retained by the new coach? I think Ferg should get more run as strength and conditioning. I don't know about Price. Would he get to his third staff with VT? Off of the top of your head, Patrick, is there anybody that you would retain?
Elijah Brooks.
That is a great pull and a name that many probably wouldn't have thought of off of the top of their head. And you would be hard pressed to find another coach who is. Now, here's the only challenge, Pat. I can't say Bashal Tutin was a finished product because he came in and he definitely developed at Virginia Tech, and he had to go out and get him, and he had to go out and get Terrian Stewart. That's a great answer. I love that.
And Matt Moore would be nice to retain just because he seems like he knows what's going on. He's put guys into the league. But those are my first two thoughts.
Yeah, I would love to keep Ferg, and whether this is unfair or fair, I'm very dubious of keeping anybody anywhere that's been here for a long time. I think Virginia Tech is in need of a Chapter 1 rewrite, and that's where we need to go. And with that, we're going to do some edits, but it's an hour and 50 minutes. We've been talking for a long time. It's been a feature film. Pat, pleasure. This was great. I mean, I didn't think that we would. Week 3, when we got to Wofford, I was pretty afraid of like what we were going to talk about, but obviously there's a lot to talk about. So any final thoughts? If you're still listening, what's the emoji they're putting in there? I'm starting to get texts from people of the emoji that we're telling people. What's an off the wall one? We went banana last time, dude. Let's do the Statue of Liberty. Shout out New York, dude.
Shout out New Jersey, dude. It is on the New Jersey side.
If you're still listening, send us a Statue of Liberty emoji. Put it in the comments. Like, subscribe. We'll be back. And thanks for sticking around. Here's to $200 million and another day in the direction of the next chapter of Virginia Tech.
Beat Wofford. W down.